If you're a musician, your life is likely already rife with problems. Facing rejection from record labels, having to deal with asshole bandmates, having to deal with asshole coworkers at your real job. But if you're an introverted musician, you have to put up with a whole other set of problems your extroverted counterparts don't, like having to put up with your extroverted counterparts. For us introverts, it can be infuriating watching more outgoing musicians fast track their way up the social ladder. As personal as music can be, it's largely a social phenomenon, unlike you, who is phenomenally asocial, which makes it hard to get your music in front of people when you don't want to be in front of people. Maybe in the back, off to the side, but not in front. Unsure if you're an introvert? Well, you don't have to be Carl Jung to figure it out. You just have to answer a few simple questions. Like, does the thought of having to interact with a stranger make your skin crawl? Are you the only person you truly enjoy hanging out with? Do you find people, even your closest friends, to be utterly annoying 99% of the time? If you answered yes to these questions, congratulations, you're an introvert, and likely a bit of an asshole. But don't be fooled. Introverts love people. They just rather not have to deal with them, be around them, or interact with them in any way. But from a distance, safely out of communication range, introverts love people. Unfortunately, to get anywhere in the music business, you have to do a whole lot of close range communicating with a whole lot of people. So before long, the love you may have had for people at the beginning turns first into resentment, then to disgust, and finally to all out hate. And that brings us to our first introverted musician problem. Number one, no other word makes an introvert's knees tremble like the word network. Networking involves everything introverts hate, like human interaction. An extrovert might define networking as an opportunity to meet new and interesting people, develop lasting business relationships, maybe even make some new friends. An introvert's definition of networking? Having to suffer through one worthless conversation after the next, trying to build superficial relationships in the hope that someday you can exploit those relationships to further your own music career. All introverts hate networking. As such, many introverts have figured out an interesting way to avoid having to network. They simply don't do it. And this is fine if your goal is to get as few people as possible to listen to and like your music. But if your goal with music is to make money and increase your net worth, you need to network. If your efforts at networking are not working, don't worry. With today's technology, networking is easy, even for an introvert. In the old days, you had to actually go out and meet people, maybe lube them up with some alcohol, and try to make a good enough impression to slide your way into their life. Nowadays, you could just slide into their DMs without even leaving the house. No lube necessary. The internet is a godsend for us introverts. It's a pre-built network, and the work is already done. So now it's nothing but net, which means you no longer have to worry about mustering up the courage to go out and interact with people in person. Now the only thing you have to muster up is the self-discipline to stay off Pornhub long enough to actually make some online connections instead of just offline erections. Networking is work. Work you don't want to do, but work you have to do because you can't outsource it to someone in your network, because you don't have a network, because while you should have been out networking, you were staying in to watch network television. Number two, self promotion. You have no problem investing time in yourself. Self help, self care, self improvement, self stimulation. What you do have a problem with is self promotion. You don't like talking about yourself. Never have, never will. Talking to yourself, you don't have a problem with. You do that all the time. But talking about yourself makes you feel as vulnerable as a seal in a shark tank. On the plus side, that means you're probably not a narcissist. Or conversely, maybe it means you're so narcissistic you feel that no one is worthy of listening to you talk about yourself, besides you talking to yourself. Either way, you don't like to talk about yourself or your music, which would be fine if you didn't want other people to talk about you and your music. But you do want that, desperately. And the only way anyone is ever going to hear your music is if you do what all successful artists do: shove that shit so far down everyone's throat they have no choice but to pay attention to you. That's how the majors have done it for decades. That's how successful indies do it nowadays. And that's how you're going to do it if you want your music to get any attention whatsoever. Ironically, you have no problem talking about other people's music. You'll go on and on about how great Lana Del Rey's latest single is. You'll spend an hour talking about how you'd give your left nut for System of a Down to make a new studio album. But the second I ask you about your album that dropped like 2 days ago, you look away and mumble something about not wanting to be a sellout, even though secretly you want nothing more than for your album to sell out, which it won't if you don't passionately promote it. If you want other people to get excited about your music, you have to at least pretend to be excited about it yourself. If you want me to get excited about your music, hit that like button right now. Number 3, you're a paradox. On the one hand, you dream of being on stage in front of thousands of adoring fans, cheering you on, singing along to every single word of the songs you put your heart and soul into writing. On the other hand, playing 2 songs at an open mic in front of 12 people gives you a panic attack and makes you puke. You dream of being in the spotlight while somehow remaining in the darkness. Good luck with that. Maybe being a performer isn't the wisest career for an introvert, but you're committed to your vision, even if that means having to vomit up your dinner every night before going on stage. Which, if you're doing G.G. Allen covers, could actually work to your advantage if you can somehow manage to hold it in until you get on stage. Number 4. As an introvert, you've made an art out of drawing as little attention to yourself as possible. In order to get noticed as a musician, you have to draw as much attention to yourself as possible. And you have to continuously draw people's attention nonstop because in the internet age, the average attention span has been reduced to that of a goldfish. And not a smart goldfish either, one of the dumber ones. So you need to be a nonstop, 24/7 attention seeking machine, aka the exact opposite of an introvert. Which makes things quite simple. You've got your work cut out for you. All you have to do is just take who you are as a person and become the exact fucking opposite. How hard could that be? Extremely hard, as it turns out. But believe me, if I can do it, so can you. If an untalented super introvert like me can get in front of a camera, behind a microphone, and on stage, you can too. What's my secret? Just like public speaking, you have to picture everybody in the room totally naked. But since I'm the only one in the room right now, I'm just sitting here picturing myself naked. Yet it's still strangely totally working, easing every last ounce of my introverted anxieties. If you're picturing me naked right now, that means it's time to hit the subscribe button. If you're not picturing me naked, then picture yourself naked, hitting the subscribe button. Or clothed, whatever. Just hit the subscribe button. Then tell me in the comments what introverted musician problems you've faced. You're so